48-inch tires, Oshkosh 7-ton 6x6, dually all the way around. Oh yeah, this has got to happen. Now I have made some dually adapters for military trucks before. The thing with those adapters is that they're designed for 5 tons or the older Hemmets. So with those older military vehicles, they ran a different lug pattern that was about 2 inches smaller diameter as these newer military trucks. Now the older trucks and the newer trucks both run 20-inch rims, but with this newer, bigger lug pattern, you can see these lug nuts run right up to this edge. So my old adapter design just really wouldn't work well in this newer pattern because there's just not enough real estate there like there was in the older style rims. Also, my old adapters were kind of expensive and complicated to make, as well as I used a press brake and a plasma table to make those, which I don't have access to any of those right now. But I do have a different design that I want to try out. I'm not super confident in the design, but it will be simple and cheap and easy to make. And if it ends up failing and we start spitting tires while driving down the road, that sounds entertaining in itself, so I'm down to give this design a try. So here's what I'm thinking. These are 2-piece rims, and the 2 halves are clamped together with all these little nuts that run along the outside. And I do have this DOM tubing. It's an inch inside diameter, 1.5 inch outside diameter, 1/4 inch walls. And the inside is just slightly smaller than what all these nuts are. But I think with some hydraulic force, we can press these nuts in and then weld the nuts in. And basically just have a bunch of these chunks of DOM tubing with nuts welded on the outer end that we'll use to bolt these tires together. And I'm sure if we did all 20 of these nuts, it'd be pretty strong, but that's a lot of pieces I would have to make and I don't feel like doing that. Nor do I feel like paying the cost of all that tubing that would add up. So with the front axle of the truck, that'll be the most stress just because the weight of the engine's over the front axle and all the steering forces that are involved. So for steering axle, I'll do 10 of these tubes. And then for the rear 2 axles, we'll try to get away with just 5 of these tubes and see if that's strong enough. So all of that will add up to 40 of these pieces, so we need to get to work. First step was to remove these extra airlines that are involved with the onboard tire inflation system. And then I undid the 5 nuts and bolts that will be used later on in the links that will hold these tires together. Next step was to cut this DOM tubing into 40 pieces that were exactly the same length. So I clamped this chunk of metal at the end of the saw that the tubing could run into, and that would establish the exact same length for all the pieces. Next I spun the nuts on this bolt with a wire wheel, and that cleaned off the paint so that it could press into the tubes easier and also be clean for welding later on. Then I used this hydraulic press to try to press the nuts into the tubing. I even tried zip tying this guide piece so that the tubes would stay vertical, but nevertheless this press was taking a lot of effort and time and wasn't doing a very good job of pushing the nuts in straight. So I wanted to try to figure out a better system. Just the door running up on its own. You're good. Shane and I just dragged this wood splitter out of the woods. Thank you for it. We're going to try to adapt it to run off of skid steer hydraulics. And then I'm just going to make it into a little hydraulic press. And then give it back to him so he can use it as a wood splitter. So this should make quick work of these adapters. After replacing some fittings and hydraulic hoses to get this wood splitter working, I temporarily added this flat face on the front of it so it could act like a press instead of a wood splitter. This proved to be a very effective system and made quick work of pressing these nuts into the tubes. This hydraulic ram paired with the skid steer hydraulics had plenty of power to quickly work through these tubes. This setup was probably 10 times faster than that manual hydraulic press was, and it was doing a high quality job of pushing these nuts in straight. The inside of this ram has these special bolts that are held in by these metal tabs. So I go ahead and just fatigue these pieces off and then grind them flat because we have to be able to spin these bolts from this side since the tube will be fixed on the other side. Then Josh even jumped in to help me prepare all these rims for the dual setup. Then I wrapped things up by welding all the nuts into the ends of the tubes, and by having my ground clamp clipped to the square tube, I was able to roll them along the square tubes while maintaining electrical continuity. I want to switch gears real quick to tell you guys my entire life journey in less than 60 seconds. I was born and raised in Florida and was encouraged down an academic and white-collar path, so I got some academic scholarship and went to study at one of the universities in Alabama. But after a few years working towards my engineering degree, I grew increasingly unsatisfied with the path I was on and recognized I just wanted to work with my hands and that I never would actually want a job that would require the degree anyways. So I abruptly dropped out of school and ran away out west to Utah to start a new life. That's when some stars aligned to get me working for the Diesel Brothers, which was a wild and crazy job full of unique experiences and growth of my skills. But after a few years working there, it made sense for me to step out on my own, and fortunately now I'm able to support myself full-time doing YouTube now, which was always a dream of mine. Which then led me to move to North Carolina, where I'm at now, since it made the most sense for me to build a bigger shop here. Now, while I am so thankful to be on this exciting and unique journey, it does have a tendency to put stress on relationships in my life as I move through all these different chapters. Most notably with relationships from my upbringing in Florida, since I had so much opposition to my decision to drop out of college and move out west. A lot of those relationships are important to me, but thus far I haven't really been successful in rebuilding them on my own. I tend to just distract myself from it by focusing on the future and staying busy with work. Now, I have had therapy recommended to me in the past, but I always felt uncomfortable with giving that a try. But then a certain brand reached out and expressed interest in supporting the channel, which pushed me over the edge to finally giving therapy a try. And now that I have had such a great experience working with the therapist that BetterHelp organized me with, I'm happy to say that BetterHelp is the sponsor of today's video. BetterHelp matched me with an amazing old veteran that's tough as nails but has loads of emotional intelligence. And his wisdom and strategies have helped me in these areas that I was struggling in, and I've been able to progress much faster than I could on my own. BetterHelp works by connecting you with a licensed therapist who's trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. You can use my link, betterhelp.com/goodrich, and then answer some questions that BetterHelp will use to match you to a professional with years of experience helping the particular areas you may be struggling with. And you can communicate with your therapist from the comfort of your phone or computer through phone call, video chat, or messaging. So if you feel like therapy may be right for you, visit betterhelp.com/goodrich or choose my channel name during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. All right, now back to assembling these duals. I started by loosely bolting 5 of these links into one of the tires and then flipped it on its side and slid the second tire on top of it. And after lining up all the holes, I ran the 5 bolts into that side. And then finally, I tipped the 2 tires over so I could access the first side so I could put the final torquing on those 5 bolts. Then I just had to inflate the 2 tires so they would seat up against each other and act like one giant tire. So the thing with these tires is that the sidewall expands quite a bit when you inflate them, about 1 inch total. So I decided to go this particular length to connect these two together because this length allows the 2 tires to bolt together and the sidewalls are touching when they're flat. So then once they're inflated, these sidewalls are wanting to expand out 1/2 inch on either side. So on this seam, we have all that pressure of the sidewall trying to expand, but it can't because it's butting up against the next tire. So I'm hoping that with these 2 sidewalls gripping each other, we'll get a lot more strength there when it comes to rotational torques and bump stresses. And I decided to go that route because of this. Now the first set I made, I went ahead and left this 3/4 inch gap in between the 2 tires, except I didn't think I turned out strong enough. As you can see, there's quite a bit of flex between the 2 of them. So that's why I decided to shorten them up and suck those sidewalls together and hope we can get more strength out of the sidewalls. This one is just held together with 5, so the 10s will be a lot better, but still. All loaded up. Now we're here at the testing grounds. A bunch of dirt hills and mud and clay and challenges to put this truck through. Unloading the duals now. All right, first challenge is this hill. It starts off super gradually and then gets really steep at the end, so we'll see how the single tires do. Couldn't make it all the way. It just rained yesterday, so everything's just slick as ice, so maybe that's good though. The extra challenge for today. All right, here's the challenge I'm most interested in. Cat D3 versus a 7-ton. That was impressive, but we do have another thing, a D5. He's gonna go grab that and see if a D5 is more of a match for this. All right, correction, it's a D4. It has D5 stickers for some reason, but it's technically a D4. But still gonna be a nice increase in challenge. So close to being a tie, but the dozer did pull me back 3 feet. So we'll call that a win for the D4, but we'll see if the dually tires will help me take that dub next round. Now it's time to swap to the duals, which we did by jacking up the axles and removing the single tire so that we could use a tractor to mount up the dual tires. Alrighty, time to try this first hill again. I'm feeling pretty good. These duals feel way grippier than just singles. Alrighty, we definitely did better. Definitely dug into this wall pretty good. We definitely made it further than singles. I had this stump, so we made another 15 feet up the hill, which is a pretty good increase. All right, let's see if I can get the dub against the D4 this time. Let's go, that was definitive that time. I think they want to hook up 2 dozers now, so it'll be the 7-ton against both dozers. Whoa. All right, the D3 plus the D4, which I guess equals a D7.
Oh, we got a D7.
That put the whooping. Oh, D7.
D7.
Got the best of me. All right, we're about to go up this hill and just do some freestyling. Probably go through pretty sketchy, but I don't think I'll flip because I have duals on and a super wide footprint. So, but yeah, Shane's trying to send me up some sketchy roads. So there you go. Both? Yeah, pretty much. Let's go check it out. So now I can't even make forward progress from there. So I'm going to need a dozer to pull me off this cliff edge.
That could have worked out even better.
Just broke off and rolled down the hill. Stop, you tire! Whew. That could have been bad. Wait, not the mailbox. We're not home free yet.
Dude, let's get the
mountain. I saved the mailbox. That was some nice trucks. Some nice buildings we just dodged there. That was hilarious. I was wondering when that was going to happen. I jumped on my feet and started sprinting after that. I think I set the parking brake on the truck. I don't even remember. All right, finally this one sheared its bolts. We've been watching this one all day. It was definitely shifting the most by far out of any of them. So I think what happened and all the commotions of trying to tighten all these bolts and everything, the bolts on the inside of that dual may have not been super tight. And so all day they're just like working back and forth and eventually fatigued those bolts, which those are hard bolts. They're metric 10.9 hardness. But anyways, yeah, it popped loose, started headed down the hill, almost hit the building, and then it curved that way and almost hit a truck, but then it split the gap. Went all the way down. Almost hit the mailbox down there, but stopped it. That was something, wasn't it?
That was awesome.
That night we decided to go real slow down some back roads so that we wouldn't have to deal with breaking down the dual tires. And we managed to shear off another tire, but we were able to catch it right in time and noticed that it was about to fail. So right as we pulled off the side of the road, it was ready to fail the rest of the way. But then we were able to use the winch to hoist it up and mount it up against the back bumper and make it home the rest of the way that way. Alrighty, we did eventually make it back home last night down the back roads. Obviously using 5 links was not enough. I'm sure we all saw that coming. However, the fronts held up phenomenally. This 10-link design worked out phenomenally and put up with all the abuse yesterday. And it's probably gonna make sense in the future for us to build some more links so we can run 10 links on the back axle and then we can have more fun with these dualies. So subscribe, you guys.